of recorders, women blessed with a remarkable ability to retain details, each responsible for transcribing every word their own specific lord uttered. They operated under seal of death, not just their own, but that of their entire families, should one word of what they recorded be uttered outside the camera. Collective punishment was assumed among the people of Naitani. It was part of the rigid code that kept the peace under the eyes of the Dark Masters. Last to enter was the first speaker, the one man not of the ruling class trusted to hear all that was said and whose sole role it was to act as chief arbitrator. Following tradition, he paused for a moment and turned to face the hour marker, indicating that it was time to shut the doors. From the moment the sound of the closing portal stopped reverberating, only those within this room would know what was discussed. The population would learn what had been concluded by whatever edicts emerged from the camera. All the deliberations, debates, arguments, and occasionally threats that were spoken within were closely guarded secrets. Each Pride Lord retained his own recorder, so that no later claim could be made predicated on misinformation or faulty memory. Should two recorders differ in their recounting, it fell to the first speaker to decide the correct version of words or events. As a result of this great power, the first speaker occupied a position of authority unequalled by any other below the lords. His family was kept in luxury, though he would never see them again, and when he grew unable to discharge his duties, he would be painlessly put to death, and his family would continue to prosper. The Lord of the Golden Pride looked at each of the other 4 Pride Lords and then to the first speaker. The latter gave a slight bow and then said, "The camera is sealed, and now I yield to the Lord of the Golden Pride." Tarquin was a man at the height of his power, both physically and politically. He stood up slowly. He was an imposing figure at 6.5 feet tall, with wide shoulders and a narrow waist, and his face, with its chiseled cheeks and square jaw, looked as if it had been carved out of flawless obsidian. His eyes were as dark as his skin. Tarquin's stature was enhanced by the formal robes he wore, red, embellished with golden embroidery and shoulder patches. Against his dark skin, the robes were dramatic, as he had intended when he first commissioned them 10 years before. He hated wearing them, for they were hot and heavy, and the climate in Arcana demanded light, loose garb, which all other citizens of the city wore on most occasions. But he understood that such magnificence enhanced his aura of power. The other Pride Lords knew that despite his size, he was all lean muscle and sinew, the strongest and fiercest warrior among them. Truth be told, many of them had not held a weapon in years. Tarquin was the third of his line to be the paramount Pride Lord, a burden he embraced as his fate. His grandfather had crushed rivals to achieve supremacy in the camera, at times risking retaliation from the Masters, and his father had withstood several attempts to dislodge the Golden Pride from their position of power. In the history of the nation, no pride had stood so high for so long. Despite his relative youth, he had turned 36 a month previously, Tarquin had been schooled since childhood in governance and understood both the public and covert methods of maintaining control. Moreover, he had mastered the art of persuasion, convincing the other Pride Lords to follow his lead, knowing when to bow to alternative solutions in order to gain socially while losing in different ways, and when to hold firm to his own position. His rule had been far less tumultuous than that of his forebears, as the other leaders in this chamber had grown up with the Golden Pride being the paramount one for their entire lives. Should Tarquin bequeath the premiership to his eldest son?